Okay, so the pasuk says it's a pasuk in Yeshaya which talks about the time of Mashiach, which is from the Haftarah of Achron Shel Pesach, and it says the following: "V'hechrim havayis loshin yam Mitzrayim." Hashem will dry up the tongue, the extension of the Egyptian sea. V'heinif yadei al hanor ba'yom ruchay v'goymer, and he, which means Hashem or Mashiach, will lift up his hands upon the river with the power of his spirit and split the river. The continuation of the pasuk is he will split it into 7 canals, and there will then be a path for the children of Israel in the same way that there was on the day that they left Mitzrayim. He's the one who said Milchatchila River. He explains at length in his Hemshech of VeHachrim, which starts with these words, which starts the mimer, the first mimer of the Hemshech starts with this pasuk. And the Rebbe Marash explains the Neis of Shalasid Laviyeh VeHachrim Geimer Eslash Yam Mitzrayim. In addition to the fact that in the future there will be the fact that Hashem will split and dry up the Lashon Yam Mitzrayim, the Egyptian sea, Dugmas Kriyas Yam, which that's similar to the splitting of the sea, Shahisai B'Yitzias Mitzrayim, which was at the time of Yitzias Mitzrayim. Yegam V'Hinef Yadei Lanar Gomer. It'll also be V'Hinef Yadei Lanar. He'll also lift his hand upon the river and split the river, which means that in the Haftarah we're basically talking about the fact that when Mashiach comes in the future, there will be similar types of miracles to the ones that took place at the time when we left Mitzrayim. When we left Mitzrayim, Hashem split the sea. Asid Lavai, Hashem will split the sea, and He'll also split the river. What does that mean? So we say, the B'kiyas Anar Ulamayla Yeser, B'kiyas Hayam K'mevor Sham Barucha. The splitting of the river is much higher than the idea of the splitting of the sea, as is explained there at length. So I'll give you a little bit of an idea of this. So first of all, it's just the concept. The concept is conceptually, there'll be a sea that Hashem will split, just like He split the Yam Suf. But in addition, He'll also split the river into different parts and make paths in the river. There's obviously the deeper things. Let me just give a quick idea of the deeper point of this. When the Jewish people left Mitzrayim, and this explains actually in that Hemshech, when Hashem split the sea, so we always learn that Hashem split the sea in order to enable the Jews to go through the sea. But if you look in the Medrash and in many of the commentaries, you see that it's totally not true. They actually did a horseshoe. They made like what you could call a U-turn. They came out of the sea right next to where they went in. They did a U inside the sea. They made a turn. Hashem split the sea, let them go through, and then the Egyptians Hashem covered with the water. Now, what was the point of that? If they were going through the sea and coming out on the other side, okay, it makes sense. They had the sea, and Hashem wanted to leave them a path. And while He was at it, He drowned the Egyptians in the sea. But if they just made a horseshoe, what was the point of doing that? Although, yes, Hashem did destroy the Egyptians in the sea, but Hashem could have done a lot of other things and gotten rid of the Egyptians some other way. And so in Chassidus, it explains the concept in the following. Yam, the idea of the sea, is a expression of the sphere of Malchus. And for the simple reason, if you look at the sea, look at the ocean, it covers inside it a lot of stuff. There's all kinds of creatures. There's in fact an entire world. There's an underwater world of fish, to the extent that the Gemara tells us, Kol mashi yesh bayabasha yesh bayam. Everything that exists on the dry land, there also exists under the ocean, under the sea. But it's covered. It's covered by this sort of cover, which is the sea. That's the idea of Sfiras HaMalchus. Because all the spirits which are above Malchus, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Chod, Yesod, they're all the godly channels of energy, of godly light that comes into the world, which is revealed. but then it comes into our world through Malchus, where it all gets hidden in Malchus. It's all covered up, so to speak, just like the sea in Malchus. So all the godly light is hidden, is covered over in the sphere of Malchus. And that then enables the next level, etc., etc. That's why we live in the physical world. The physical world is the sphere of Malchus, which entails in it all the spheres, but they're all hidden. That's the idea of the sea. That's why we have what's called the Alma Discasia and the Alma Disgalia. There's the hidden worlds and there's the revealed worlds. The hidden worlds, that's the higher spiritual worlds where everything is totally concealed. That's the spiritual worlds, but it's hidden from us. That's why we call it the hidden worlds. That's the sea. The dry land is the revealed worlds, where we see a certain amount of godly revelation, whatever amount we can get, but not more than that. The sea is just a total mystery, what goes on over there under the sea. The creatures of the sea are fish. They go much quicker than the creatures of the dry land, even though they're very fast-going animals in the Kruger Park or wherever it may be. But the creatures of the ocean, they swim, but they go in a very swift move from one side to the other, which that shows on the more spiritual ideas. When the Jewish people were about to come and get to the culmination of Yetzias Mitzrayim, which was Kriyas Yamsuf, the idea was Yetzias Mitzrayim, leave the limitations of the world, the limitations, the constraints where godliness is not revealed. Paroi, king of Egypt, the Jews who were in Egypt were following the Egyptian culture where they did not recognize anything but the nature of the world and the human intellect. That was Pare, that was the Egyptians, and the Jews at that time were enslaved in Egypt, meaning they themselves were also enslaved to that culture. Shem took them out of Egypt. First he broke that clip of Egypt with the 10 Makkahs, and then finally after the end of the 7 days, he took them through Yamsuf, and that was the culmination of it. What was the idea of the culmination? It was a preparation for the full exodus. The full exodus from Mitzrayim was specifically at the time of Matan Torah. Because until Matan Torah, there was still a separation between the higher worlds and the lower worlds. There was the higher worlds, the spiritual worlds, where godliness is revealed. Physical worlds, which were still inside their Mitzrayim, their constraints that they're not able to recognize godliness. Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, that Hashem gave the Torah into this world, where spirituality and physicality are able to be interconnected. You can take a physical skin of an animal and make leather out of it, make tefillin out of it. You can take physical garments, make tzitzis out of it, etc., etc. You're taking spirituality, physicality, and you're elevating, you're connecting physical and the spiritual. The ultimate preparation for Matan Torah was Kriyas Yamsuf. What's Kriyas Yamsuf? Splitting the sea. The sea, the cover-up of godliness, where the godliness is hidden. B'soich hayam bayabasha, being able to go in the sea, but yet it becomes in dry land, where the sea and dry land become connected, where you're able to see godliness, the spiritual hidden levels, and they're able to be revealed. And that's the idea of splitting Malchus. Splitting Malchus means taking off that cover of Malchus and revealing everything that's hidden inside it. That was what happened in the time of Yetzias Mitzrayim. That was the final preparation for the giving of the Torah, when spirituality can become revealed in the physical world. But the giving of the Torah was really all a beginning. It was all giving the power to be able, through that Torah, in the course of the 3,000 years since we got that Torah, use that Torah constantly to reveal godliness in the physical world. That was what we're doing. That's what our job is, go around in the physical world, reveal more and more godliness in it. That is the purpose and the goal eventually, until it comes the time of Mashiach, when the world itself will become attuned to godliness. Now it's not. Now we're doing a mitzvah with a physical thing. We're doing a little bit more. We're bringing it a little more. We're recognizing godliness in the world. When Mashiach comes, what does it say? U'mallah ha'aretz deus Hashem kamayim layom mechasim. The earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem like the water covers the ocean bed, which means we will be living in that constant reality of that sea world, but yet where it will all be fully revealed. Now, in order to get to that, you need the preparation of the time of Matan Torah, but then throughout the time, we're not seeing godliness in the world, we're just recognizing intellectually the idea. That's the splitting of Malchus. But now, it all still is there in the intellect. Intellect starts from Bina. Bina is understanding, where we can understand the godly idea. There's something that's higher than Bina, that's Chachma. Chachma is the essence of our mind, which perceives godliness. Bina is we understand an idea which isn't me. Chachma means I actually connect essentially to something real. Chachma is like in a person, in a human being. What's Chachma? I understand an idea, I understand a concept. It's like a flash of wisdom. It's a flash of an idea. Then Bina is that I understand the idea. But Chachma is just the flash, the wisdom itself. In our neshamas, we have just that oneness with godliness, but we can't relate to it. We can only relate to it in an understanding way, intellectually, but not the essence. That doesn't get revealed to us. Now that's called Nahar. The river is the idea of Bina. Why is a river Bina? A river is a flow of ideas, a flow of water. It's like Bina. The river comes from Chachma. When the Jews went through Yam Suf, there was a splitting of the sea, which means the ability to connect the physical worlds, comes from Malchus, with the spheres above, with the worlds of spirituality. But connect them means where spiritual still remains spiritual and physical. It doesn't become totally one. When Mashiach comes, there'll be both things. There'll be the splitting of the sea, which means it will become fully connected. By Kriyas Yam Suf was only the beginning of it, but there'll be also the splitting of the river. The splitting of the river, in order to enable us in our understanding, but to connect to what's above understanding in the same way as we connect to what's in understanding, but it's obviously so much deeper, because in understanding, you only understand something. It doesn't become real to me. That's why understanding is considered like hearing something, because it's like when someone tells me something and I believe that person, they describe it to me, but I still don't actually connect to that thing. I only connect to that thing intellectually, whereas when I see something, it's reality to me. Chachma is seeing it. So when Mashiach comes, we're going to get to that higher idea, and that's why when Mashiach comes, there'll be both things. But the main concept, the main aspect of Mashiach is the concept of the splitting of the river, more so than the splitting of the sea. And that's what the Rebbe Marash explains, that when Mashiach comes, there'll be both, but the main thing is going to be the splitting of the river. Now, the Rebbe Marash continues to say, like it says in the Pasuk. In Tehillim, it says, Hafach yom liyabasha, Hashem transformed the sea into dry land. Beautiful idea if we think about it in the Chassidus idea. The sea, which is Malchus, the covering, the hidden concealment, into dry land. Banor yavru beragel. In the river, they will go through with their feet. Also the beautiful idea. You don't go through a river with your feet, because a river is understanding, it's intellect. You don't walk through intellect. You walk through the ground, something which you can relate to, something which is realistic to you. You don't walk through intellect, your mind grasps intellect. Going through a river in your feet means that you're actually living this idea of the understanding. Says the Rebbe Marash the following: Hafach yom liyabasha is lashon avar. Dikoy al kriyas Yam Suf shayis bagul yitzias Mitzrayim. The world Hafach yom liyabasha is in past tense. Hashem turned over transformed the sea into dry land. That was past tense because the main idea of that was in the past by Yetzias Mitzrayim. Whereas Banor Yavru Beragel, in the river they will pass in their feet. That's Lashon Asid, that's in future tense. The Kayal B'Kiyas Hanar Shetia Begul Asida, this refers to the splitting of the river, which that will only be in the future. That didn't happen yet in the past, because it never happened that it's fully the full connection of the world with godliness. That will only happen in the future. And that's why we say that the main chiddush, the main novelty of the time of Mashiach is not the splitting of the sea, although the splitting of the sea will happen again, because in a sense, we still need again to split between this world and the world above us, because although it happened then, but it wasn't something which happened in a way that it remained, but that's something which happened already. That's not the main novelty of the time of Mashiach. The main novelty of the time of Mashiach is what it says in the future tense. In the river they will pass by foot. The splitting of the river, that's the thing which will happen. So again, we're talking about the two concepts which happened in the past, which is the splitting of the sea, and that which will happen in the future, and only in the future, which is the splitting of the river. And we say the two together. Both of these we talk about, and that's what the Mimer is going to go now to the connection between the two.